The secret behind Princess Diana's last public appearance. August 21st, 1997. The Royal Albert Hall was buzzing with anticipation, not just for the ballet performance about to take place, but for the woman who entered the Grand Hall with a grace that felt almost supernatural. Princess Diana. Draped in a shimmering sky blue gown, she walked in with her signature smile. But behind that radiant glow, something was different. No one knew it then, but this would be the last time the world would ever see her in public. Was it coincidence? A carefully chosen farewell? Or something far more haunting? In this video, we'll uncover the deeply emotional layers of Princess Diana's final public appearance, the hidden symbolism behind her outfit, the eerie foreshadowing in her gestures, the whispered conversations from those closest to her, and why some believe she knew the end was near. You'll also hear rare insights from royal insiders, body language experts, and the unspoken message Diana left behind for the world to decode. Because when the curtain fell that night, something more than a performance ended. This is the story of the goodbye we never realized we were witnessing. It wasn't just any night. Diana's final public appearance wasn't a royal obligation. It wasn't political. It was personal. On that evening, she attended a performance of Swan Lake at the Royal Albert Hall, a ballet known for its tragic ending, where love and death intertwine beneath a haunting melody. Why Swan Lake? Why that night? Insiders close to Diana say she was unusually insistent on attending. She had just returned from a holiday with Dodi Al-Fayed. The press were watching her every move, hungry for a scandal, a headline, a hint of drama. And yet, she chose elegance, quiet rebellion, grace. The Royal Albert Hall was one of Diana's favorite venues. She'd been there many times before. But this time, something felt choreographed, intentional. It was as if Diana was choosing her stage, choosing her farewell. Her arrival was mesmerizing. The cameras clicked furiously, yet for a moment, everything went still. Her sapphire blue gown shimmered under the lights, echoing the tragic elegance of the Swan Queen in the ballet. Some say it was the most composed she'd ever looked. Others say she looked like she was hiding something. What the world didn't know was that this wasn't just a night out. It was a statement, a swan song. She wasn't just watching a story unfold on stage, she was writing her own. And the choices she made that night, from the dress to the timing, would become haunting in hindsight. When Princess Diana walked into the Royal Albert Hall that night, it wasn't just her presence that captivated the room, it was her presentation. She wore a stunning sky blue Jacques Azaguri gown, embroidered with sequins that shimmered like stardust under the lights. To the untrained eye, it was simply beautiful. But to those who truly knew Diana, it was loaded with meaning. Blue, the color of peace, loyalty, and introspection. It was also Prince William's favorite color, and the same shade she wore during her most iconic charity visits. But more symbolically, blue is the color of water, of sorrow, of farewell. It's what ballerinas wear in Swan Lake when they're destined to die. Around her neck was a stunning diamond necklace. But what few noticed was that it matched a pair of earrings she had worn only once before, during her official visit to the White House, where she danced with John Travolta. Why choose those pieces again now? Was it nostalgia? A full circle moment? Or was she quietly reminding us of who she had once been and what she was choosing to leave behind? Even her hairstyle that evening was a soft return to her early royal days, short, classic, with a vulnerability that hadn't been seen in years. And yet, as dazzling as she looked, there was a ghost in the room. Her smile reached her eyes, but only for a flicker. Then came the familiar look, one that longtime photographers had come to recognize. The quiet pause, the internal monologue. She looked like someone who had something to say, one insider recalled. But she didn't say it with words. She wore it. She lived it. She showed up for it. Just days before that unforgettable night at the Royal Albert Hall, Princess Diana had been speaking to a handful of close friends, and what she said left them shaken in hindsight. According to one confidant, Diana had begun making comments that felt final, reflective, as though she was tying up loose ends in her life. "I feel something is about to change," she reportedly said. Something big. I don't know what it is, but I can feel it. Another friend claimed Diana was unusually preoccupied with her legacy. She asked questions like, will they remember me for what I tried to do? Will William understand why I made the choices I did? This wasn't just nostalgia, it was foreshadowing. Even her decisions around her charity work became more urgent. She met with multiple organizations she supported in quick succession, even calling one director to apologize for not being able to attend an event the following month. But I'll be watching, she added cryptically. Those close to her say she was glowing, but also haunted, as though a clock was ticking in her heart. A royal aide later said, it was like she knew she was nearing the end of something. She had this calm, this clarity, and yet this sadness too. Some brushed it off as the pressure of media attention. Others now believe it was something deeper. Intuition, premonition, or perhaps a silent goodbye in the only way she knew how. As the lights dimmed in the Royal Albert Hall and the first notes of Swan Lake filled the air, Diana took her seat. She wasn't just a guest, she was being watched almost as much as the dancers on stage. But if you look closely at the footage and photos from that night, there's a moment. Just one. A pause. A glance. About halfway through the ballet, as the tragic love story unfolded on stage, Diana leaned forward slightly, her eyes fixed on the dancers. But then, she looked away. Just briefly. Off into the distance. Into nothing. As if hearing a voice no one else could. That moment, captured in a single frame by a lucky photographer, has since become legendary. Some say she was lost in thought. Others believe she was contemplating something more profound. And what makes it even more chilling is this. The ballet ends with a death. The Swan Queen, after all her pain, her grace, her hope, dies by drowning, but achieves peace in the afterlife. The parallels are hard to ignore. A misunderstood woman. Hunted, haunted, but beautiful, graceful, and defiant till the end. As the final curtain fell and the audience rose in applause, Diana clapped politely, but her smile faded quickly, as if she knew something no one else did. And then she stood up, straightened her dress, glanced toward the exit. That look on her face, was it relief? Resignation? Or realization? Whatever it was, it stayed with the photographers, the audience, and her friends long after she walked out of that hall and into history. After the final applause faded and the grand doors of the Royal Albert Hall swung open, Diana stepped outside once more into the London night. The cameras flickered like fireflies. Her driver, waiting in the shadows, opened the door. She smiled. Gracious. Poised. But quiet. According to reports from those closest to her team, the ride afterward was unusually silent. Diana didn't talk about the ballet. She didn't mention the press. She simply looked out the window. The chauffeur, who'd driven her countless times, said she seemed far away, her eyes fixed on something beyond the glass. She didn't check her phone. She didn't scroll through notes. She just sat, her fingers lightly resting on her lap, the sparkle of her gown barely visible in the dark. One assistant later shared that Diana said just 5 words that night after the event. That was the right ending. And then, silence again. It was as if she had closed a chapter that only she knew existed. And maybe that's exactly what it was. A quiet, personal curtain call. Not for the public, not for the press, but for herself. A way to say, this is the version of me I want the world to remember. Elegant, gentle, in control. But fate, as we all know, had other plans. In the days after Diana's last public appearance, the media did what it always did, splashed her image across every tabloid, every morning paper. Diana dazzles in blue. Swan Queen of the night. But no one realized. They were documenting the final act of a life on the edge of fate. Now, years later, those same photos feel different. Unsettling. Prophetic. There's one shot, in particular, Diana walking into the Royal Albert Hall, her head turned slightly over her shoulder, lips parted in the beginning of a smile. And yet, her eyes, they don't smile. It's as if she knew she was being immortalized. As if her soul had already moved somewhere else, watching herself from a distance. Body language experts have analyzed the photos frame by frame. Many point out a slight tension in her shoulders, a stillness in her movements, almost like she was rehearsing for something. It's the look of someone who has made peace with something we can't see, one analyst said. Another image shows her seated, looking upward toward the stage, her hands clasped tightly. A moment of prayer? Nervousness? Or a silent message? Some royal watchers have even drawn parallels to the biblical story of Mary Magdalene, a woman misunderstood, judged, but forever etched in history as one of the purest symbols of grace. Was Diana leaving us signs? Or are we only seeing them now because we know how the story ends? Either way, those photos are no longer just snapshots. They're time capsules. Ghost notes from a song she never got to finish. Less than 2 weeks after that unforgettable night at the Royal Albert Hall, Princess Diana would be gone. The world still spins from the speed at which it all happened. One moment, she was glowing under the soft lights of London's most iconic venue. The next, headlines screamed tragedy from every corner of the globe. August 30th, Paris. Paparazzi. Chaos. Her final days were a whirlwind. After that ballet, she flew to the Mediterranean. Photos show her aboard a yacht with Dodi Al-Fayed, trying to steal moments of peace while being hunted by 1,000 lenses. But even then, she didn't seem truly at ease. Witnesses claimed she was contemplative, restless. One said she often sat alone on deck, staring into the water, lost in thought. One of her last recorded conversations with a close friend included this haunting line. "I just want to disappear. Start over. Maybe I will." And yet, she didn't cancel her Paris trip. She didn't change her plans. Some say she was chasing freedom. Others say she was already letting go. And when she boarded that car in Paris on August 31st, no one, not even Diana, could have predicted the violent turn her story would take. But in a way, it had already begun. The countdown didn't start in Paris. It started the moment she stepped into that blue gown. The moment she walked into the Royal Albert Hall. The moment she smiled and yet said nothing. That night, she wasn't just watching a performance. She was saying goodbye. For most people, goodbyes are loud, announced, formal. But Diana never had that luxury. Her entire life had been a series of stolen moments, coded gestures, and silent wars with the spotlight. So it makes sense, painfully so, that her final goodbye wouldn't come in a speech, but in a look, a night, a choice of gown. The Royal Albert Hall appearance wasn't just about beauty. It was her version of closure. A controlled performance in a world where she'd rarely had control. She knew the ballet. She knew the ending. And perhaps that's why she wanted to be there, to witness something that mirrored her own life. A woman fighting to be free. A woman loved and hunted at the same time. A woman who dies, but finds peace in death. Swan Lake ends with heartbreak, but also transcendence. The swan becomes something eternal. Diana may have felt the same. That if she could choose how she would be remembered, graceful, serene, elegant, it would be that night. And the world listened. After her death, millions clung to those last images. Not the chaos in Paris, but the calm in London. Not the flash of sirens, but the shimmer of silk. That was the Diana we remembered. That was the Diana she wanted us to remember. Because maybe she wasn't just saying goodbye. Maybe she was leaving behind the best version of herself. One last image. One last night. One final act of grace. Decades have passed. Generations have come to know her not through live broadcasts or balcony waves, but through that one unforgettable image. Diana in blue. Radiant. Alone. Unspoken. It's become more than a photo. It's a ghost. A question mark. A whisper in time. Why does that night haunt us still? Because we didn't know it was goodbye. Because we didn't realize we were watching the final chapter unfold in real time. Because we didn't listen closely enough to the silences. And now, every time we look back, it hurts just a little more. The smile that was too perfect. The eyes that held something back. The ballet that ended in tragedy. Diana's last public appearance wasn't an accident. It was her final message. Not in words, but in symbols. Not in sound, but in presence. And maybe that's why we can't let it go. Because in that moment, just before the world lost her, she showed us who she really was. Not a royal, not a rebel, but a woman, a mother, a soul searching for peace. And for one final, breathtaking moment, she found it. Under the lights, in the silence, with the whole world watching. And then, she was gone.